Welcome to day 2 of our trip to Great Basin National Park. We are getting ready to hike Wheeler Peak. It's the highest peak in the state of Nevada. Not the highest point, but the highest peak. And this is our trailhead. The trailhead pull-out and parking lot is here right behind me. We start at roughly 10,000 feet and we'll hike to 13. Join us as we hike to this highest peak in Nevada. We're only about a half a mile into the hike, but we got a break in the forest. It's pretty dense where we've been hiking, but that peak over my left shoulder is our destination today. We saw a number of deer in the park. This small herd of mule deer does passed in front of us as we were hiking up early in the morning. As we hiked through the meadow and the intermittent forest, there were a number of flowers blooming. I took a handful of pictures of some of the flowers we passed on the trail. Small break in the forest and we can see down to where we hiked yesterday, back into the bowl below Wheeler Peak and one of the alpine lakes that we hiked into yesterday. I think this one is Stella. We've cleared the timber line. The balance of our hike will be out on the tundra and rock. You can see the last of the forest behind us. We did run into this buck on the way up. We didn't notice it, but the people up above us who we ran into at the peak said it looked like he'd followed us for about 10 or 15 minutes. Kind of funny. I'm panning from the peak down into the Alpine Loop Trail Basin. You can see Lake Teresa down below us, and a little bit further to the northeast, you can see some broken meadow, and that's actually where our campground is. As we crossed the tundra, we saw some additional flowers that seemed to be unique to the higher elevations, so took a couple of pictures of those. This section of the trail is the windiest section of the trail. A number of people who hiked the trail the day before we did, they said they were getting a little bit of wind burn up there and had masks over their faces. As you can see, there's a number of these little shelters that have been built up for people to rest behind. This is really the last section that's somewhat flat before you make your final ascent to the peak. This is the best shot of the Alpine Loop Basin and the campground prior to our ascending to the peak. We're looking to the south. This is the North Fork of Baker Creek, and just over that lower ridge is Baker Creek, and there's a lake right behind that jagged ridge. The higher ridge or point behind this point, this is Pyramid Peak. And just below Pyramid Peak and on the other side of this peak to the left of Pyramid Peak is Johnson Lake. So there's a couple of high mountain alpine lakes with fish in them. Both those lakes are supposed to have fish in them. The other two lakes on the Alpine Loop Trail don't have fish in them. So beautiful section just south of Wheeler Peak. I'll do a complete 360 view from the peak. I'll start looking north along the ridge line that Wheeler Peak is part of. And then I'll work my way east, looking back across towards Utah. We're right next to the Utah border. So these mountain ranges to the east are all in Utah. This is the first mountain range as you enter into Nevada. And then as I continue to pan, we'll look to the south, straight down the ridge line. There's a number of other lakes and creeks and canyons that are just gorgeous through the national park and south of the national park. And then we'll head looking west, and we can see across 4, 5, 6 different ridge lines. We can see for quite a distance. The air's fairly clear today, and we have some spectacular views. Very fortunate. I'm then zooming in so that you can see the distant ridge lines a little bit better, and I'll do that 360 view again.